Okay, UFC 272. Masvidal versus Covenant is coming up this weekend. A card that is pretty rare nowadays. You don't really get many pay-per-view cards that are non-title fights on it, but I like it. The last, I think, non-pay-per-view card I can think of was the McGregor-Poirier. Before that, you've had McGregor-Cerrone, McGregor-Diaz, you had Masvidal-Diaz. So it's good to see, sort of the UFC branching out a bit, because I think, honestly, this card has so much interest and this fight has so much interest that I feel like what it shows is you don't always need a belt on the line to make a pay-per-view entertaining. McGregor Diaz was, some of the most, or two of the most sort of hyped up cards in history. You look at those ones, McGregor Diaz wasn't a pay-per-view fight. It wasn't a title fight. And to my memory, I don't think either of the co-main events were, it was Misha Tate and Holly Holm in the co-main event of the first McGregor Diaz fight. But the second one didn't have any titles online, and it was still, I imagine, to date, one of the UFC's most successful pay-per-views. So you don't always need titles online. They're good, but kind of just shows that with fighting, it's often what the people want. That's what's most important. And, in this fight, you got so much bad blood between the two of them. And this whole card is pretty solid, to be fair. When I first looked at it, when it first got announced and the card got announced, it didn't look that great to me. But then, again, the more and more you look at it, fight week, it does seem quite interesting. There's a lot of fights, more so on the main card than the prelims. There's not really many fights I can really get that excited about on the prelims. You got Marina Rodriguez fighting. She's quite exciting to watch, but again, nothing too much to really go crazy about. You got Umar Nurmagomedov fighting, which is Khabib's cousin, so that one, again, that could be interesting. He definitely seems like going to have decent prospects. So some, again, decent fights on the prelims, but nothing too much to dream about. But I'm going to focus on the main card. I'm going to talk about all the main card fights because they all are quite interesting to me. So the first fight, you got Sergey Spivak against Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy, this is his first fight, since getting knocked out by Tuivasa. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, Hardy, so he's been one of them, not popular because of all the stuff that happened outside the octagon with the prison charges and stuff, and somebody who obviously, he's kind of, again, he came in as an athlete more than a fighter, and I think he's somebody who, a bit of a polarizing figure, to be honest. I think he was a football player back in the days as defensive end. So again, more of an athlete than an actual fighter. And it's almost, I think with him, it's almost like an experiment to see how other athletes will do in the UFC. And look at his record here since coming in. He beat Austin Lane, beat Gordon, lost to Alan Crowder. Again, not big names. Lost to Dmitry Smalikov. Won against Dmitry Smalikov, won against Juan Adams, lost to Ben Sosley, lost to Volkov, which is his biggest step up, which, again, I say he lost to Sosley, he wasn't scored no contest. Yeah, and then after he lost to Volkov, he beat De Castro, beat Maurice Green, then lost to Tibora, and then lost to Tuivasa. So it's been very much up and down. His record's all over the place at the moment. But, against Sergey Spivak, his last fight he lost to Tom Aspinall, which isn't that bad, but he beat Oleinik before that. And he did beat Tuivasa, and unless my memory fails me, that was actually Tuivasa's last loss. So a good test for Greg Hardy, but I like Spivak in this one. And Hardy has shown a bit of a vulnerability. If you look at, I think, majority of his losses, he had the DQ against Crowder, but then before that, he obviously lost the decision to Volkov. But his last two, he's been knocked out. So yeah, I think Spivak takes it. I don't know if he knocks him out. I'll say he finishes him in the third. Spivak, I think he'll get it done. I'm not really a fan of Greg Hardy. He's decent, but again, he's more power and more athlete than fighter, and I just don't think he really has it at the moment. He's 33. Maybe he may come back and maybe he'll show something else. But thus far, 7-4, not really doing that great. So yeah, I think Spivak gets that one done. And then we go to the fight after. You got Kevin Holland and Alex Oliveira. If you look at Kevin Holland's record, take away the no contest, he lost to Vittori and then lost to Brunson. Which, those two guys who aren't like completely out of the way in the title picture. If Brunson beat Kanye, he probably would have fought Adesanya next. And Vittori obviously fought Costa, fought for the title. So not bad losses really. Some good wins against Jacare, beat Darren Stewart, beat Joaquin Buckley, but nothing to shout about. But Kevin Holland is very bit of a fan favourite. He obviously likes to talk a lot in the octagon. He's like a MMA version of Spider-Man. He just keeps talking and talking. He's not even trash talking half the time. He kind of is just thinking out loud, which I'm not gonna lie, I found it very entertaining. And I think him and Strickland would genuinely be an amazing fight just for that reason. And against Alex Oliveira, a bit of a legend to an extent, one of these old timers. But, last fight lost to Nico Price for that Randy Brown. So again, up and down, Oliveira, again, a bit of a character, one of those who fans just love. He's a fan favourite. But I think Kevin Holland gets this one done. I think he'll get it done over 3 rounds, so I don't know if he finishes Oliveira. But I like Kevin Holland. I think he's on his stand-up, he's good. He seems to be working a lot more on his wrestling now. After that was how he lost his last two. So, who knows, maybe if he can improve enough, maybe, again, with a lot of these fighters in martial arts, is the good thing about it is he doesn't really need to be undefeated. You don't need to be beating everybody. Ultimately, you can lose, you can come back, and I think he will. I can see him challenging for about one day. I don't know whether he has the ability to be champion. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but I think he's just building at the moment. So yeah, but I think he gets it done. I like his striking. He's very clean, very slick. So I think Ken Holland gets this done, but I don't think he finishes him. So yeah, I think Holland gets that. And then on to the next one, you got Edson Barboza versus Bryce Mitchell. Barboza obviously at featherweight now, and I think he's looked amazing at featherweight. He lost his last fight to Shikadze, but before that, beat Shane Burgos, beat Marquand Americani, lost to Dan Ige, lost to Felder, but again, those are... I mean, the Ige one was at featherweight, but the Felder one was obviously on the Khabib Poirier card, so it was a while ago in 2019. But I think since coming to featherweight, I don't know, he looks a lot better. I know he's lost his last one by getting knocked out by Shikadze, but Shikadze again, no joke, and that featherweight division is full of a lot of dangerous guys, so it doesn't really completely shock me. You know, Bryce Mitchell is doing good on the come up. Only lost once. I'd have to check what that loss was, but thus far doing good. Beat Andre Philly, beat Charles Rosa. So some decent wins. He obviously has this whole thing of trying to get camel shot. And yeah, I think the way Barboza has been looking, I know he lost the last one, but I don't know, there's something about him. I like how he looks at featherweight. He definitely looked a lot better. It's funny, I used to just think the same with Aldo, where I didn't think Aldo would look that great at bantamweight, but he's looked better than ever. And sometimes going down in weight can be dangerous. You know, we saw this with Cody Garbrandt, but you know, I do think that Barboza does look a lot better. That's this weight though. He looks more powerful, and it can go two ways. Sometimes you're depleting yourself and your chin gets worse and all these things happen, but yeah, I think he's a good example of somebody who got better by going down a weight class. And yeah, I think he gets it done though. I like Bryce Mitchell. He looked good, looks very promising. I mean, if he can beat Barboza, it'd be a huge cap in his feather, but I don't know. I mean, I think this could be one of them where it almost is one of those where it's a learning curve for Bryce Mitchell, but he definitely looks good, and on the feet he's pretty good. On the ground he looks solid, but I don't know. I just got a feel. I think Barboza is very, very slick, and I think he'll just have enough. I think he'll be close though. I don't think, like with the other two fights, I think Spivak will beat Hardy pretty comfortably. Same with Holland Oliveira. This one I think will be close, but yeah, I think our boy Edson gets it done. I think over the 3 rounds, I don't think he'll knock Bryce Mitchell out, but I do think he will just outpoint him and chop at the legs and do what Edson does. He's obviously, at this point in his career, he's not going to change his style, but against certain fighters, that style is very effective. So yeah, I think he gets it done, so I'm going to say a Barboza decision. Then we go on to the co-main, which has now been announced to be Rafael dos Anjos versus Renato Moicano. It was supposed to be Rafael Fiziev, but you know, he got injured. There was thoughts about him that it may be Makhachev, but unfortunately that didn't happen. It's a 5-rounder because I think the RDA and Fiziev fight was supposed to be 5 rounds, so obviously they moved it to the co-main. I really could do without this fight being 5 rounds, to be honest, but you know, I get it, because I just don't know if either of these guys are going to finish the other. Dos Anjos is a beast, but he's never really been a ruthless finisher. And same with Moicano. I think Moicano does look a bit smaller at the weight, but I do like him at lightweight. I think he looks good, and he's taking on short notice, so maybe it's one of them again for 5 rounds as well. Moicano wasn't preparing for any kind of fight, so it's not like you know, his cardio will be up to shape. We saw this, you know, with so many fights. We saw some Masvidal when he fought Usman. You know, he did good for a short while, but eventually it goes. And Moicano, I'm sure, keeps himself in shape, but there's nothing specifically about him. It's like, you know, when you look at the Diaz brothers, they constantly do triathlons, so they're always in shape, even if they're not physically fair. But yeah, I think Moicano, he's good. Moicano, like I said, he beat wasn't it? Who did he beat? Alex Hernandez. That was it. I don't know. I forgot that. Yeah. So yeah, I give him credit. He's took this with not even a month until he last competed. And if Moicano can win this honestly, I think he's a bit of a dark horse in this division. I don't think he'll do enough to really put himself out there, but I still think he'll be good. It is at a catch weight. I think it's at 165 pounds. If I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's at 165. I think obviously because of the short notice, it makes sense. And again, I think RDA, he's looked good recently, but you know, he's a strange one. He's one that, you know, there are certain fights where you feel like they're gonna be finished at a point, but he's, to his credit, still going strong and still showing that he has a lot left in the tank. If you look at his last fight, beat Paul Felder, lost to Kaiser, lost to Edwards. But one thing about RD, look at his record here. This is just tells you. So obviously, look, he beat Felder. But in terms of guys he fought, Kies is a decent fight. But then you look at Leon Edwards, look at Kevin Lee, you look at Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Robbie Lawler, Neil Magny. Go further down, you got Tony Ferguson, you got Eddie Alvarez, you got Cerrone, you got Pettis, you got Diaz, you got Khabib fought Cerrone twice. You know, it's like he's literally fought everybody. Fought T-Bow. He's fought literally every single guy you can think of in both divisions. Was supposed to fight McGregor, if you remember back in the day. So Dos Anjos one, you can say what you want. This guy doesn't duck anyone. He fights everybody. yeah, I think he'll get it done. The obviously advantage of him preparing for Fiziev helps. Fiziev and Moicano, they are very, very different styles of fighters, but I don't know. I still don't think. People often think with short notice fights that the advantage goes to the guy who's been training a long time, who's been waiting for this a long time. But honestly, most of the time that isn't actually the case. And with you look at so many examples. Usman against Masvidal as an example. He won the fight, Usman, but it wasn't exciting because ultimately you got to prepare for a completely different style. You look at McGregor, Diaz, same thing. If you go to boxing, Joshua Ruiz couldn't handle the different styles. Sometimes, when you focus your mind so much on one style, it changes at the last minute, it can kind of derail you a little bit. So yeah, I don't really think it would be that shocking if Moicano were to really trouble him in this fight, but nothing much. I mean, 2-fight win streak. He did lose. His last loss was to Fiziev, actually, Moicano, or Fiziev. So again, Moicano, he's good, but I just don't. I just think, again, the full camp, even on a full camp, I just don't think he'd beat RDA. I think RDA is just a level above him, but if he could beat him, it would be a hell of a statement to make. So yeah, but I think I hope he doesn't go 5 rounds. I think he'll. You know what? I think his cardio will give way, so I think RDA will get it done in the 4th round. So yeah, I want to say ties him out. We all know how good he is in the clinch RDA, so I think the knees and elbows will really hurt Moicano. Moicano did recently get KO'd by Fiziev, so it does show, he's not got the... I mean, Fiziev is a beast, but, his chin ain't exactly the most... What would be the word? Reliable? I don't know if that's even the right word. It just hasn't got the a great punch resistance, I think, and it was a very brutal knockout against Fiziev, so it's one of them. I just don't think he'll... enough. So yeah, I want to say RDA 4th round stoppage. And then we get into the main event, the one we've all been waiting for, the fight that a lot of the times when it comes to non-title main pay-per-view cards, sometimes people can get a bit agitated with them. People don't like them half the time, but I don't think anybody can complain about this one. This is a real grudge match, and we don't really get many of these in the UFC. I think the last time, I can't even think of the last real grudge match like this we had. I mean, I know McGregor and Poirier were beefing each other, but that wasn't really that bad. Same with Usman and Masvidal and Usman and Covington as well. There wasn't really that much heat. Honestly, I think the last one I can think of this was McGregor Khabib, because Usman and Covington and Masvidal really want to take the head off each other. And I'll be honest with you, I used to think that this was actually a little bit manufactured. I used to think that with what Covington was doing, we all know about him playing the character, maybe he would say to Masvidal, let's start having a little bit of let's just go at each other and we'll make money and together and we can do this and that. And I know Masvidal's a very real guy, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's become a big star now, so maybe that would be his sort of thing. But looking at the interview that Masvidal did a few days ago with ESPN MMA, he really doesn't like Colby, and when he breaks the whole thing down, you can tell it's very real for him, and it's real for Colby too. So yeah, people should really take this one in, because this is a very unique type of fight. You don't really get fights like this, and it's so interesting. Obviously, Colby, we all know what he is: fantastic cardio, decent striking, a very good wrestler. And Masvidal, since he's actually kind of had this whole resurrection, he hasn't really gone 5 rounds. I know he went 5 rounds with Usman, but he didn't have a full camp. It was hard to tell really how his cardio is. I mean, he's not... People say that some people like to think that he's just the same fighter, he's just got the knockouts, but he's different now. There's a more of a venom with how he throws his shots, and maybe that will throw Colby off. I don't know if it will or not, to be honest, because with former teammates, it's quite often the case where they know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and these two in particular, because these two are boys, they really know, how to get at the other. Masvidal was speaking how he made Colby quit with a body shot in training. Colby would talk about how he bullied Masvidal with the wrestling, and there is, to his credit, video evidence of this. So yeah, it's an interesting one. For the division, this doesn't really do much, to be honest, and I think this fight really should have took place after Usman beat Masvidal the first time round, but unfortunately that fight didn't happen then, because both these guys now have already been beat twice with Usman, so neither of these two are going to fight for the title after this fight. To me, should Chimaev beat Gilbert Burns, I would think Chimaev versus the winner of this would be really interesting, and that actually could be a good one for maybe another pay-per-view card that's trying to be headlined by a non-title fight, because Chimaev's star is growing. And either of these two, if Masvidal ends up knocking out Covington, he's already that big star, having him against Chimaev would be a great fight. You got 2 stars going at it essentially, and with how much Colby talks against Chimaev, it could also work. So either way, whatever happens though, I'm excited for this fight. With Colby, you know what you're gonna get. These two, I don't think these two really have that many surprises in store. You obviously also got the whole drama at ATT, and I think there's a certain pressure on Masvidal to almost deliver for them. But to be honest, Masvidal might be a really good actor. I don't know. But he really does seem confident in this fight, and so does Colby. But Masvidal really has that killer instinct that he had in the last time I saw this was in the Ben Askren fight, to be honest. So and a lot of people thought that Masvidal was going to get taken apart and just out-grappled in the Ben Askren fight, and that sort of killer instinct that he has a real ability to stay calm in the big moments, and I think that's something that's really underrated about him. And with Colby, mentally, in fairness, he performs on the night, but if you look at the first fight against Usman, did good. But as the fight sort of wore on, Usman started going to the body and he started to break Colby up a little bit. But two things happened in both of those fights. And that was, there's a point when Colby was really getting pushed and really getting tested. And when that was happening, he had to almost come back and he showed the heart. But I feel like with Colby, he kind of has to almost be pushed and tested a lot for him to finally come out a little bit. Because in the second fight as well, he wouldn't throw anything against Usman for the first 2 rounds. And when he got dropped, it almost like it woke him up a little bit. So, I don't know, mentally it could be interesting. And Colby's also somebody who, I don't know, he doesn't strike me as somebody who is as mentally solid as Masvidal. So that could be something to watch out for. But mentally, I don't really pay much attention to it. I feel like I always look at the skill set. And Colby's the more well-rounded of the two. But again, sometimes with Masvidal, he is a very, very good striker. And people, I feel like the Usman fights have made people forget how good he was. On the feet, Masvidal is a problem for everybody, so I don't think people should take much from those fights. To be honest, Usman is the pound for pound best fighter in the world. You get beat by him, there's no shame in it. Same with Colby. And yeah, Colby, we all know, can set the pace for 5 rounds. Emotions will play a part in this, but I just wonder with Colby if he's able to weather the storm of Masvidal. He's got a good chin, Colby. He took a lot of shots from Usman. From Lola, they didn't get wobbled by any of them, to be honest. I mean, even with Usman, he obviously took that shot in the one that broke his jaw, and then he kind of got pinged all over the octagon, and then eventually Usman dropped him in the first fight. And in the second fight, he got caught with a beautiful left hook and then got hit again. But again, never wobbled. He just got, it sounds weird to say, but he kind of just got hit and went down and had to sort of try and recover. So he's not one of these guys, if you hit him with everything, or if you hit him with just a little half this shot, his chin will just go. And honestly, everything that I know about MMA should tell me that Colby will dominate this fight. And I could definitely see that happening. And I think that is the smarter pick. Because I think over the 5, his wrestling, his card, like I said, he's just the more rounded out of the two of them. But everybody seems to be, I think Colby is the favourite as well. I think everybody's going for Colby in this one. And I think it's very smart to do so. I don't bet, but if I did, I would go for Colby. But you know what? I'll be honest, I just got a weird, really weird feeling about Masvidal, and it's again nothing to do with the fact. I just have a hunch in this one, and yeah, Masvidal is very good, and it's not like a 1 in 100 type hunch. He could easily beat Colby because he's a very good fighter. Masvidal very good on the feet, and he knows him. You got to think a lot of the striking that Colby has, or the fundamentals, probably came from Masvidal, and vice versa with the wrestling with Masvidal. So Colby's not the type of grappler that will keep you down. He's not like a Khabib or has that Dagestani style of keeping you there. Quite often people get up, but the problem is, I think with Masvidal, if he just keeps getting taken down again and again, Colby doesn't tire, and eventually I think he will just get worn out. So yeah, I just have a weird feeling about this. This is just purely just a hunch. Again, like I said, the smart is Colby, but I think Masvidal. I just think Masvidal's going to catch him, and I just wonder, he's able to weather against Usman, but Masvidal's, even though Usman deaded Masvidal is more of a better striker than Usman. Is more, has more tools on the feet. There's more facets to him, and yeah, so I'm gonna say is Jorge Masvidal gets it done in the second round. I think he'll catch Covington with the knee, not flying knee, but just a normal knee coming in, and I think he'll get him on the feet. Colby will try to take him down, and Masvidal will hit him with a few uppercuts and eventually just finish him on the feet or go down, and Masvidal will land the ground and pound and finish it. And I don't think these two will shake hands at the end of it, but I would be interested. I'm interested to see this. I said it on the video that I think the press conference is almost more hyped up than the fight, because the fight, I think a lot of people feel like Colby will win, but either way, it's very, very interesting, this fight. And yeah, so I think Masvidal gets it done. Good card, this one. Probably the most I've been excited for a UFC card in a while, to be honest. I was excited for Whittaker Adesanya from a purely stylistic point of view, but this one I'm excited for the stuff that really shouldn't matter in MMA, but it does, and that's the drama, the circus, all the stuff that goes with it. So yeah, good card, UFC 272. I'll do a review after the card, and yeah, until next time.